Hello guys, you're welcome to another tutorial on JavaScript. In today's tutorial we are going to continue from where we left off in the previous tutorial. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, in today's tutorial we are going to have a look at some key terms to be able to make us understand what JavaScript really entails. So, and not only are we going to have a look at just the key terms, but we're going to have a look at some other topics. But first of all, I'd like us to treat these key terms, after which would continue. So let's have a look at what a program is. Now, in programming in general, when we define a program, which is often referred to as source code or just a code, we define it as a set of special instructions to tell the computer what task to perform. Alright, so when we talk about programming, it's just you putting together a set of instructions, Alright, so when you put together like a set of instructions and you give these instructions, alright, that you've put together, you give these instructions to the computer, alright, in order that the computer performs those instructions. What you've done is you've programmed, alright, and so a program is like a set of instructions just to tell the computer what tasks to perform. So any set of instructions at all, alright, that makes the computer perform an action is referred to as a program. That's all. Alright. Okay. Alright, so let's have a look at what a computer language is. So the rules for valid format and combinations of instructions is called a computer language. Alright, so whenever it is that you set your eyes on rules for valid format, alright, and combinations of instructions, what we refer to as is what a computer language. Sometimes refer to as its syntax. I know for sure that you've heard of this key term, syntax. Alright, so sometimes computer language is also most often referred to as syntax. Much the same as English tells you how to spell words and how to create valid sentences using words and punctuation. Alright, so this is self-explanatory. So computer language is just valid formats and combinations of instructions. Alright, so when we have a look at when we consider English language, alright, English language has its structure and how how these verbs and these pronouns and adjectives are put together. Alright, they're put together using a valid format. Okay, and so when you try to juxtapose that scenario to that of programming, alright, it's the same thing, like the same principles with regard to English language can be aligned to that of programming. Okay, so let's quickly move on to the next key term. So the next key term here is statements. So let's quickly have a look at what a statement in computer programming and JavaScript is. So statement. Now, in a computer language, a group of words, numbers, and operators that performs a specific task is a statement. So, in programming language and in JavaScript, when we talk about statements, we talk about a group of words, alright, numbers, and operators that performs a specific task. Now in JavaScript, a statement might look like this. So A equals B plus 2. So when we talk about statements in JavaScript, A equals B plus 2 qualifies to be a statement. Now, the characters A and B are called variables. So put that inside of your mind. The characters A and B in the statement here are variables. So A, B are called variables. Okay, so we see that here. So this whole equation here is called the statements, and inside of these statements we have the characters A and B, which are called variables. So you should know all these key terms to be able to communicate, alright, as a programmer. Okay, so let's continue. Now in programs, alright, in programs, variables hold values to be used by the program. So when we talk about variables in program, alright, we talk about, let's say, a container, alright, a container which is able to hold values. So let me create a scenario here. Alright, so when you have, let's say, a box filled with say clothes, alright, now the box there is the variable, alright, and the clothes inside of the box are the box's values, alright. So we talk about variable in programming. We talk about a container that holds a group of values, or it could be groups of values or just a value. Alright, so here with respect to this statement, A equals B plus 2, A is a variable, alright, and it holds B plus 2. Although A and B qualify to be variables, but here A, the equal sign means that it holds B plus 2 inside of it. So A holds two values here. It holds, as a matter of fact, it holds three values. It holds another variable called B. It holds the plus operator and the number 2. Alright, so you should be familiar with these key terms, alright, in order that you will be able to communicate when it comes to programming. Alright, so now think of these variables as symbolic placeholders for the values themselves. So just think about them that way, and probably you'd be able to understand. All right. Now, by contrast, the two is just a value itself, called a literal value. So the 2 here is called a literal value, or a number. So you could call it a number or a literal value because it stands alone without being stored in a value. Alright, so the 2 there stands alone without being stored in a value, and so it's called a literal value. Alright, so A and B are variables, whereas the 2 there is called a literal value. So let me put it here so that you can see crystal clearly. So the 2 is called a literal value. Okay. All right. Now the equals to sign and the plus sign are called operators. So the equals to character. All right, let me speak more in JavaScript or in programming. All right, so the equals to character and the plus character are called operators. So the equals to and the plus characters are called operators. So you should put all these terms in mind. You should keep them inside of your mind. All right, now your mind becomes a variable that stores all these information. And so I believe you're getting what a variable is by now, because you can even use that of your mind to serve as an example. All right. Okay, your mind becomes a variable where all information are stored. So when you go to school and you learn, all right, all these information you're assimilating, they are being stored inside of your mind, which happens to be what? A variable. Okay. So now we have had a look at what the equals to character and the plus character are called in programming now and in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, when you come across the equals to character, we talk about this character as being what? An operator, as well as when you come across the plus character, it is as well an operator. All right. Okay. So most statements, all right, in JavaScript, most statements, like virtually most statements in JavaScript conclude with a semicolon at the end. So that is why this statement a equals b plus 2 ends with a semicolon. So most statements, all right, in JavaScript end with a semicolon at the end. Now the statement a equals b plus 2 tells the computer roughly to get the current value stored in the variable b. Add that value by 2, then store the result back into another variable we call a. So that is what the statement means. All right, that is what the statement means. It means that it tells the computer to roughly get the current value stored inside of the variable b. All right, and add the value to 2, and then store the result back into another variable we called a. So that is what the statement means. Okay, I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot for you as a beginner, but honestly, you need to get these basics. When you get these basics, trust me, you'd be able to understand like the programming language called JavaScript. You'd be able to understand it fully. Now, my mission here is for you to understand JavaScript, all right, at its best. So we're going to go slowly as you requested. We're going to move slowly so that you'll be able to understand every bit of information you come across when it comes to JavaScript. All right. Okay. Now, programs are just collections of many such statements, like the a equals b plus 2, all right, which together describe all the steps that it takes to perform your program's purpose. All right, so let's quickly move to another important topic or key term known as expressions. Okay, so expressions. Now, when we talk about expressions, all right, okay, let's say statements are made up of one or more expressions. So statements are made up of one or more expressions. Now, an expression is any reference to a variable or value. So when you make a reference to a variable or a value, or a set of variables and values combined with operators, we talk about that as what? Expressions. Okay, so an expression is any reference to a variable or value or a set of variables and values combined with operators. So for example, let's have a look at the statement. A equals B plus 2. So A equals B plus 2. Now this statement has 4 expressions in it. The statement A equals B plus 2 alright, has 4 expressions inside of it. Now the 2 here is a literal value expression. The 2 is a literal value expression. I've said this early on, and so you should be familiar with that by now. Now the B in this expression is a variable expression, which means to retrieve its current value. So the B there is a variable expression. So the A is a literal expression, and the B is a variable expression. Alright, now let's have a look at the B plus 2. Now the B plus 2 here is an arithmetic expression, which means to do the addition. Which means to do the addition. So B plus 2 is an arithmetic expression, which means to do the addition. Alright, now together A equals B plus 2 is an assignment expression, which means to assign the result of the B plus 2 expression to the variable A. So A equals B plus 2 is an assignment expression, which means to assign the result of B plus 2 expression to the variable A. Now we'll talk more about the assignments later, but now let's quickly build up these terms for you to familiarize yourself with them and be able to use them in actual coding, so that when you come across any of these expressions, any of these key terms, alright, whatever it is that you're practicing coding, you'd be able to understand it and apply them as well. That is why it's very important that we treat these key terms, alright, to be able to acquaint yourself with them. And when you're able to do that, when you're able to familiarize yourself with these key terms, alright, they'll go a long way to help you in your programming journey. Alright, so let's continue. So a general expression that stands alone is called an expression statement. So a general expression that stands alone, alright, which is not assigned to any variable, is called an expression statement. I repeat that again. A general expression that stands alone is also called an expression statement. So a general expression that stands alone is called an expression statement. Now example, let's have a look at an example of that. So in this statement, a equals b plus 2, the expression statement here, which stands alone, is the b plus 2. So an example of an expression statement is b plus 2. Why? Because it stands alone and is not assigned to any variable. So in programming or in JavaScript, when you come across an expression as such, let's say b plus 2, c plus 4, a plus whatever, alright, we talk about that as being an expression statement. It stands alone without being assigned to any variable whatsoever. Alright. Now this flavor of expression statement is not very common or useful, as generally it wouldn't have any effect on the running of the program. Alright, so when you run this program, it wouldn't have any effect. So when you come to your console, in the previous tutorial I introduced you what a console is. You can launch your console by opening your browser. It could be Firefox browser or your Chrome browser. Alright, when you open your Chrome browser, you click, you don't click, you press Control plus Shift plus I, Control plus Shift plus I, and it will open your console for you. Alright, so when we run when we write the expression statement b plus 2, I think we're going to get even an error. Yes, because the statement here is not really useful when it comes to programming. It returns absolutely nothing, so we get error. Alright, okay. So let's have a look at executing a program. So when we execute a program, we want to get familiar with the process of running code in the console. First, I suggest opening up an empty tab in your browser. Alright, and I prefer to do this by typing about. So you type open an empty, okay, and inside of the web, the bar there, alright, inside of the empty tab, alright, this here is called an empty tab. So open an empty tab in your browser and type about colon blank. Alright, so it will make your web page blank. Alright, so type it inside of the address bar. Type about colon blank in this address bar. So here is your address bar. Well, after typing that, you will see your web page go blank, absolutely white, without any text or without any image. Alright, so now let's go ahead and open our console. So let's open our console. So as I said early on, you press Shift Control plus I. Now our console is open for us. Now let's go ahead and run a first program. So A equals 21 semicolon. Okay, so here the A is a variable and the value 21, the value 21 is assigned to the variable a, as we studied. So the 21 here is a literal value, as well, and the a here is what? A variable. So a has a value inside of it, and that value is called and that value is 21. All right, say your brain, for example, let's use this scenario. Your brain happens to be the variable a, and inside of your brain, which is a, there is a value, a literal value stored inside of it, and that literal value happens to be 21. All right, so anytime anybody comes to ask you what is that literal value stored inside of your mind, you quickly, all right, outpour the value, and that is 21. So here, let's have a look at, let's call the value, let's call the variable a, and have a look at the literal value stored inside of it. Now a equals 21. We have stored, this means that we have stored the value, the literal value 21 inside of the variable a. All right, now, so anytime you type a, there is a value 21 stored inside of it. Now, okay, so let's go back to our key terms and copy the expression a equals b plus 2. So now we have a literal value 21 stored inside of our a. So you cannot store any other value inside of a, although you can, but here we have the value 21 stored inside of the variable a. So when you type a equals b plus 2, let's have a look at what you're going to get. You're going to get an error because the variable b has absolutely nothing stored inside of it. And so when you run this program, you're definitely going to get what? You're definitely going to get an error. Yes. So we have to do the needful by storing a value, a literal value inside of the variable a. Alright. So here, let's give b, let's store another variable in b. So now let's run. So now let's have a look at what a is. Okay. So a is 21. All right, and b is what? 3. So inside of b, there is a variable stored inside of the literal value b. Inside of the variable, inside of the variable b, there is a literal value 3 stored inside of it, and inside of the variable 21 there is another literal value which is 21 stored in it. So if you can go ahead and play with this. You can just go ahead and play with these variables, these literal values, and operators. So let's have a look at examples of operators. Operators can be the multiplication character, the addition character, the equal sign, the division sign or the division character, and a whole lot more. All right, so all these are called operators. All right, we're just going to dive deeper into them, but this is just a shallow something for you to get, how the whole thing works. All right, okay, so I think I have to bring this tutorial to a close. So guys, I think I will allow you to assimilate all that we have done today, So in the next tutorial we are going to talk about something else. Yes, we're going to continue from where we are leaving off today. All right. Okay, so again, as you know, always do not forget to subscribe to our channel in order that you can be a part of the palm tree family. Now don't forget that this tutorial is brought to you by Palm Tree Incorporated. Alright, so until I come your way again in the next tutorial, it's bye for now.